So, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay, thank you. Like, I'm not from here. You guys got to represent. No. So, my name is Adeshewa Adesiji. I am from, as you say, the great state of Minnesota, up north. Oh, thank you. Minnesota? Okay. Oh, thank you. So, I was invited by Jamie Jordan. He attended National Association of Workforce Development Professional conference in San Antonio where I did the same presentation, and he had asked that I come and do the same presentation here. So of course, I said yes, I will love to. I've never been to Atlanta, but no, I meant yes, very professional, I will come and talk about my presentation and share it with you guys. So the presentation is best practices for identifying and monitoring the success of partnerships. So the purpose of this presentation, and this is going to reflect what's going on in the state of Minnesota, please feel free to take notes and adapt anything that I talk about here to what's going on here in Georgia. Sharing Deeds Workforce Partnership Survey, discussing the tracking of industry sector partnerships. I'll talk a little bit about how to identify steps to develop and implement a successful partnership, and then criteria to consider when you're evaluating a successful partnership. So some of the questions that we came about when sending out this, some of the questions that we had. So why send out a survey? So let me backtrack and kind of go more into what I do. So my title is Workforce Strategy Consultant. So there's 7 of us total in the state of Minnesota. I am one of 2 that are in the metro area, and the next slide will show how we divided up the state for our work. So why did we send out a survey? We wanted to look at the importance of value and engagement in the ecosystem. What information were we looking for? We're looking at the current level of engagement among the stakeholders. Stakeholders being philanthropic organizations, education partners, CBOs, that'll be community-based organizations, or the nonprofits, as I heard a lot of people mention them as nonprofits, and then also others. So how can we use this information to collect and strengthen future partnership efforts? We're using it to duplicate successful partnerships in other areas of our regions or the state, and then we're also looking at where are the gaps. So what is succeeding, what is not succeeding, and how do we change that? And lastly, what goes into developing a successful partnership? Is there a right combination of partners? You know, in Minnesota, we have a plethora of philanthropic, educators, community-based organizations, but not all of them are going to be the right fit and work together. So what is the right combination of those stakeholders that we need to put together to have a successful partnership? So the Workforce Strategy Consultant's position is fairly new. It was developed in 2017. Before that, I was a business service representative. So with the business service representative position, it was more of that transactional, where we had an employer say, you know, I have 10 openings in manufacturing. I need 10 entry-level openings. I need some people. As a business service rep, we would say, yes, okay, let's go ahead. Let's set you up with our local workforce centers, or let's set you up with a local community-based organization, do an on-site hiring event, have people come in, you can talk to them. Obviously, that wasn't working. With the Workforce Strategy Consultant, it's more of a holistic approach. So it's not transactional, it's more of why do you have these openings? Are you constantly having these openings? Have you considered the idea of an ongoing career pathway? And the goal is to have a more holistic approach and look at not only the short-term but long-term planning. So us consultants, we came up with a mission for ourselves, which is outside of the mission of DEED. It falls under DEED, which is the Department of Employment and Economic Development. So our consultant missions is to develop innovative workforce solutions by aligning resources, facilitating collaboration, and leveraging expertise in target industry sectors to drive economic equity and growth. So the values that we bring. We want to assist the key stakeholders. We want to leverage our expertise in the industry sectors that we work in, enhance regional economic prosperity, and also design tools and resources to support businesses to develop strategic workforce solutions, not only short-term, but long-term. So as you see, we separated Minnesota into 6 regions, 7 consultants. The region that's highlighted is the metro area region. That's the region that I work in. That little area right here that I'm pointing to is where Minneapolis is located. Now this region, we decided to have 2 consultants because 50% of the businesses, 50% of the population in Minnesota is located within that 7-county metro area. So before we sent out a survey, we examined Minnesota's workforce development ecosystem. So what we did is we talked to employers, we talked to our job seekers, and we talked to the workforce development community. So that's community-based organizations, philanthropic, government entities at the counties, city, county, and state level. And we said, okay, what are the issues, what's going on? And these were the 2, in each group, these were the 2 top statements or questions we kept hearing over and over again. So with employers, enough talk, more action. Everyone is aware of the workforce shortage. Everyone is aware of the silver tsunami. Does everyone know what silver tsunami is? Okay, if you don't know, raise your hand. Okay, so basically, the silver tsunami concept is a lot of baby boomers are retiring. And so if you factor in the large number of baby boomers that are retiring, with the amount of positions that are now going to be vacant, plus new people coming into the workforce, plus the new generation of jobs, the numbers are not going to add up. And so employers know this. Employers know that we need to reach out to more of the disparate communities, communities of color, women, veterans, individuals with disabilities, youth. Everyone is talking to them. They're saying, okay, we already know. Everyone knows what's going on. Now we need action. Also, increase the need to prepare applicants with both soft and technical skills. So we've talked to employers. Employers say, yes, we can help with the technical skills, but we need the ecosystem. We need you state representatives. We need the community-based organizations to help with the soft skills. So what do they identify as soft skills? Arriving to work on time, not using your phone, how to react to if someone says something that you don't like at the workplace, not talking loud, just things like that. Having a plan B, if your main mode of transportation is your car and your car breaks down, do you have the soft skills or the ability to have a plan B or plan C, those kind of things that they ask that we as the ecosystem help job seekers prepare. What job seekers are saying, well, what are the employers looking for? You know, I went to school, I got my bachelor's degree in XYZ, I'm still not getting through the door. What exactly are employers looking for? Help me get my foot in the door and I'll do the rest. Once I get my foot in the door, I'll be pretty good. I don't need you to continue holding my hand. Just give me that opportunity to talk to a talent acquisition or HR representative, someone who can help me get my foot in the door. So what were we saying as the workforce development community? How can we better serve employers and job seekers? So the whole goal of creating career pathways in Minnesota, we have 2 primary groups. We have employers and we have job seekers. How can we improve and develop a streamline to connect one to the other? That's efficient, that's quick, and that's not going to result in, basically over-promising, under-delivering with our services. And of course, improve, streamline of services. Like I said, businesses and job seekers, they want to connect. It's our responsibility as a workforce development community to develop a system to connect those 2. So now I'll talk about the Workforce Partnership Survey. So like I said, our positions are new. They were developed in 2018, so actually the end of May made it 2 years. No, 2017. So in the end of May, it was 2 years since our positions were in existence. We decided at the end of December to give out a quick survey just to see how we were doing. What we did is that we gave this survey to regional and local directors, community-based organization leaders, to the employers that we had communication or contact with, training institutions, so that's K through 12, technical, four-year colleges, and also chamber partners, so Minnesota chambers and our local chambers as well. So these were the two things that we were looking for when we sent out this survey. We wanted to know the value of interaction with consultants. So were we providing value even though we have been in existence for less than a year at that time? And then the level of interest and engagement from recipients. How interested were they in to continue interacting with not only consultants, but participating in the ecosystem and developing career pathways for Minnesota job seekers. So the importance of value and engagement. So what we did is we were measuring the progress of regional industry partnerships, ISPs in Minnesota, and we wanted a realistic timeline. So we were looking at ideas to implementation, what were people's reactions. So we use a net promoter score, and this is how we score them. It was from a 1 through 10, promoters, 9 through 10, loyal, enthusiastic about sector partnerships. We had passes at 7 or 8. They were satisfied, not too enthusiastic of partnerships. They were vulnerable to align with other workforce development models, so more likely to jump ship if they thought that there was another partnership that was going to provide the services and the results that they were looking for. And then we had detractors, which were 1 through 6, unhappy, negative opinions on sector partnerships. And so we were using this as a tool for us. So like I said, not only figuring out if we added value, but looking at, okay, if most of the results were detractors, unhappy, negative opinions about sector partnerships, how that will develop our future work or how that will affect our future work when we work with employers and others in the ecosystem. So for metrics, what we were looking for, the value of the most recent meeting. So like I said, did they find value in meeting with us? Did we answer questions that they had? Did we provide any resources? Did we have a plan for follow-up, a plan of action for them? The level of interest in collaboration. And so when we bring up the idea of partnerships or being a part of a partnership or building their own partnership and pathway, what was the interest, what was the level of interest, or were they interested in collaborating? They say, yes, you know what, I don't need to build a partnership or a pathway myself. I love this one over here, get me connected with that one. And once again, using the Net Promoter Score. And so these are some of the general comments that we had. We face serious workforce challenges. As industry, education, and government, we may be able to move fast alone, but we can go further working together. Sharing ideas on ways to find quality talent and partner with community services and schools at the workforce planning meetings is extremely valuable. And even if the benefits aren't that eye-opening, it always helps to collaborate. So from our results, what did we learn? We learned that when looking at the value at the most recent meeting, overall, it was positive, so people liked us. We were like, yay. Highest score related to relevancy of meetings. So, like I said, people found there was relevancy, there was value of the meetings that we had with them. The lowest score was related to actions identified leading to workforce solutions. So that goes back to more action was needed. We already heard everything, we need more action. With the level of interest and engagement, most respondents' level of interest and engagements remain the same. A large number of respondents' interest and engagement levels increased, however, and workforce development among everyone was a high priority. So that comes down to regional workforce planning is a work in progress while at the same time meeting the expectations. So tracking industry partnerships. So now we sent out a survey. Now we want to look at sector partnerships that are in existence. So the purpose was DEED needed a standard tool to measure the activity and status of partnerships within target industries. So like I said, in Minnesota, there were a plethora of partnerships and pathways, but not all of them had the same level of success. So DEED thought, okay, we need to have a tool to measure and determine which ones are successful and which ones are not. And so the ones that are not so successful, we can go in and we can get them up to speed by maybe having them duplicate a pathway or a partnership that was successful, or we can help them just develop something separately and maybe change a couple of factors to make it successful. So for the background, the Workforce Strategy Consultants developed a list of industry sector partnerships that have been established in the state and will report on them on a regular basis in partnership with the regional boards. So working with the local directors to identify partnerships in their areas that are successful and using that as the template or the standard for other partnerships in their areas. Making sure the alignment with industry is identified in the regional WIOA plans. Are these reoccurring meetings that are working to involve diverse stakeholders to develop talent pipelines? I don't think you guys are aware, but Minnesota, as great as we are, we do have an issue with disparities in getting communities of color, immigrants, new Americans, veterans, and women more involved in the development of pipelines or talent pathways. So that was one of the things that we focused on, is getting more people from those communities involved to develop stronger career pathways for those groups. And then quantity of sector partnerships in each identified region. So what were the measurements that we looked at? The quality of sector partnerships. Once again, looking at disparities with hiring and retaining employers. Are they being addressed? And then how are we doing? So when we looked at identifying the status of partnerships, there were three main categories that we put them in. The first would be emerging. So this would be considered the newer ones. So employers, engagement initiated, and work plan established. So like I said, when developing a career pathways, we're at the beginning. Industry has been identified. There is a need that it's been identified. There has been begin outreach to employers to see if they would be interested in participating in a career pathway. So that was the first level. The next one is active. So we have a career pathway or partnership active. It's been implemented. It's in the beginning stages. We're starting to get results. We don't have a lot of results yet, so it's kind of in the middle ground. And then we have active. The impact being felt from a change in employment and vacancy rates. So we have actual data to show how successful or unfortunately unsuccessful that partnership is, and if it is sustaining in that area. All right, so next we'll go to building partnerships and determining metrics. So in Minnesota, there was a consensus, there was an agreement. Yes, we need to, there's a statement that we always say, we're program rich, but we're systems poor. And so we have programs, we have partnerships, we have these things, but are they really producing the results that we want? And to figure that out, we have to determine metrics, set up metrics. Are we getting, is that partnership or that pathway, is it seeing a certain number of individuals go through it? Is it targeting disparate communities? Like, what are the metrics that we have to determine if this was a good partnership or not? But the first thing we needed to do was to agree on what we considered a partnership. So I used two different definitions that I think is a combination of, in our ecosystem, what we considered partnerships to be. So from Commonwealth Corporation, coming together of multiple organizations to recognize and pursue shared interests. Workforce development partnerships are usually composed of workforce development intermediaries, workforce investment boards or career centers, business or industry associations, training educational institutions, and community-based organizations. And then from Maurer & Maurer, who is a consultant agency that actually came in when we first were trying to develop and strengthen partnerships. Theirs is focused, active partnerships among businesses in a target industry sector and workforce development organizations, educators, training providers, labor unions, community organizations, and other key stakeholders. So I think what you can get from this is it's a coming together of not only employers, but individuals from the workforce development ecosystem, including like labor unions, training providers, and other key stakeholders, government entities from the city, county, state levels, coming together and agreeing that there is a need, and let's work together to create a pathway and an onboarding process for Minnesotans no matter what level they're at. So my question would be to you, and just to think to yourself, how are industry sector partnerships defined where you live and work? I think that that's the first step, is to come to an agreement as in an understanding as to what the definition of partnership is. If you have people that have different ideas and views of partnerships and they're trying to work together, it can still be successful, but it's more successful if everyone comes to the table with the same mindset of what they think a partnership is. So building and examining a successful industry sector partnership. First of all, it starts with a framework. Understanding and analyzing what type of partnership is best for set goals. We've had lots of partnerships. They were the newest thing, the newest best thing. They came in, they took our region or that region they were working in by storm and said, yes, we're gonna develop a partnership with a pathway. We're gonna help everybody, every single person, down to the babies in that region. They come and they go. One of the reasons why they come and they go is that they didn't have a full understanding and analyze what type of partnership was best. You know, some people were thinking, well, maybe it's a hub and spoke, and this could have been a full partnership model that they should have used. So understanding what's the best framework for you, and I'll get into those frameworks a little later. So what is the short and long-term goals of the partnership? So what are your quick wins? You can't try to fit a 10-year goal into a 6-month goal. It's not realistic, it's not going to happen. So what are your short and long-term goals? Is your quick win getting 14 employers on board? Long-term goal could be in 10 years, this career pathway or partnership, you might have 2,000 people that have went through and successfully completed whatever program. So what are your short and long-term goals? What's the combination of key players that want to increase the success of partnerships? You know, the 7-county metro area is pretty big. It looks like it's small, but it's pretty big. And so figuring out, okay, if I'm in Minneapolis, do I want to drive 30 minutes, an hour in snow, to go to a training that's in Washington County, which is on the other end of the metro? So would it make sense to have employers in Minneapolis connect with educational institutions in our Washington County? Making sure that you have the right players. If you have a community-based organization that's not known for really having a successful short-term skills program, do you connect them with an employer that says, we need people to come in with soft skills? We'll teach them the technical. You just need to come in with this combination of soft skills. And so one of the things that I do in my position, and I'm actually doing it with Washington County now, is I'm helping them develop a career pathway for their health care. So they have over, I think, 500 healthcare employers, long-term aging services in that area. And so I'm working with them to get the key players. One of the things that I look at is location. Once again, you have employers in Washington County this time. It doesn't make sense to get a community-based organization on the other end of the county. So what are the combination of the key players? Is there a need for partnership in this area? So one of the partnerships that I will talk about is called MSP Tech Hire. I know that Atlanta has a Tech Hire, so it's similar to that. That is in Minneapolis because the hub of IT employers is in Minneapolis. It doesn't make sense to have a MSP Tech Hire in Duluth, Minnesota, when that's not one of the industries of need in that area. So making sure that there's a need for the partnership in that area. And so choosing the model structure for this partnership. Now there's tons of models that you can choose from. I just focused on 3. The 3 that I see over and over again, you have a hub and spoke model, you have an inner and outer rings model, and you also have a full partnership model. And then let me just say too, so there are some industries, I did some research, and so in the Atlanta, Georgia area, according to Workforce Source Georgia, healthcare, film and entertainment, technology, hospitality, and tourism are some of the industries that you focus on in that area. For our 7-county metro area, we have 6. We have healthcare, manufacturing, construction, government, technology, and then finance and other professional services. We don't focus on hospitality and tourism. That wouldn't be one of the industries that we focus on. However, we do know that there is a need as well. So first one is the hub and spoke model. So this one focuses on the development of a relationship between the lead agency and both training entities and businesses. The emphasis is on program design and operation. So the structure of the partnership may be influenced by the goals for the partnership, the nature of the work that a partnership is undertaking, and the number of organizations involved. So it's a partnership with a group of businesses, identifying common training needs and barriers, develop a program model. And the larger group of businesses that are involved are usually the core team. So you have a core team, and it could be of businesses or it could be of education institutions, and they're basically representing the outer spoke, which usually could be businesses. The second one is the inner and outer rings. There's a small core group that convenes for decision-making related to the operation of a program. There's less interaction between the small core group and larger partnership for input and discussion of larger industries. There's a stronger relationship among the core group, and participants within the core group are workforce development partners, businesses, observers, and supporters, include training and community-based organizations. And then the last one is a full partnership model. To make a long story short, everyone is involved, everyone has full say, equal say, businesses, training, any other entities that are involved in this model. So that's why it looks so confusing. So everybody is connected to everyone. So monitoring the progress. This kind of goes back to what I talked about before. So there's the phases of performance, once again, emerging early evidence of progress. You have the active, actual outputs and products, and the advance is the impact. So these are some of the examples that we have. Emerging, work plan, employer engagement, active, skill standards, tackling non-workforce issues together, actual impact, reduced time to hire, job creations, savings to public programs. Transparency and sustaining a partnership, the 4 C's. So once you get your partners together, you have to figure out, well, how well are the partners working together? So these are some of the essentials to a successful partnership, or essentials to a successful partnership. Transparency, communication, clear role identification. So these are the 4 C's. So we have coalitions. Expands 2 kinds of workforce program support. You have social, which includes lobbying, engaging potential partners, organizational, equipment or space. Communication. Processes establish the vision, values, and priorities for the partnerships. You have credibility. Development involves having both short-term and long-term plans to demonstrate the workforce program's effectiveness to external audiences, because you will have audiences that want to know what the short and long-term goal is, and if this is a partnership that's adding value and is aligning with the needs of that area. And then contingencies. Preparations ensure the workforce program has both the social support and organizational resources to weather changes in labor markets and funding opportunities offered by government, industry, education, and other players. So, for example, one of the partnerships that I will talk about later in my presentation is in the healthcare. And it's making sure that they have a system, or they have a system set up that right now there's a nursing shortage. Who's to say in 5 to 10 years that shortage might become physicians? Making sure that they're able to adapt and take whatever processes they have for this current need, and they can apply it with few or no modifications to the new need or the new rising occupation within healthcare. So that's definitely important. So applying metrics, indicators of successful partnerships. So looking at impact groups, businesses, job seekers, public program or resources, and that's where workforce development ecosystem falls under. Looking at process metrics, looking at impact metrics. So examples of process metrics for businesses and industries, the level of business engagement, which is definitely important. I will stress this enough, and I've had plenty of people argue with me. While employers are at the end of a career pathway or pipeline, that is who you start out with. You need to make sure that whatever you're doing and whoever you align in that career pathway or pipeline meets the needs of the employers. So when people say no, I always say this, okay, I'm gonna tell you this. I'll point to you. I have this dress for you, and I'm gonna give it to you, and you're gonna wear it. I didn't ask you, thank you. I didn't ask you if you like wearing dresses. I didn't ask you what color. I didn't ask you what shape. I didn't ask you what style. I just said, here's a dress. You go ahead and you wear it. That's what we're doing to employers, and that's why it's not successful. You need to find out, okay, do you like wearing dresses? What type of dress do you like to wear? What is your favorite color? And develop and find people who can create that dress that you like, you'll continue wearing, and then when you need other dresses, you'll go back to those same people. And then usually people are quiet when I say that. So I'm like, I did my job. Okay, so, so level on business engagement, making sure the businesses are engaged. Increase the referral of applicants. For a scorecard, introducing new programs and initiative, better accessibility to prepared workforce talent pool, improvement of internal operations. For job seekers, new modified accessible training programs, increase access to work experience on the job training opportunities, that's the OJT, direct work with industry influence development. For impact metrics, decrease the time to hire after completing training, that's very important. When working with businesses and when we introduce and ask them to be a part of a pipeline, before everything is solidified and is guaranteed, one of the things that we ask employers are, if we are developing a pipeline, a career pathway based on what your needs are, what we expect, not what we're asking, but what we expect is that you will look at this group of individuals that have passed this training, this individual that may be onboarded at the ABE, GED level, maybe onboarded at the community-based level, onboarded at the technical college or technical training level. And if they're getting the training that you specifically told us you need, there's that expectation that those will be the first priority of groups that you will look at when you're looking to fill your roles. And that goes down to decreasing the time to hire after completing a training. Easier transfer for laid off workers to new roles. So one of the groups that we work with that's actually on my team, but there's another group, it's called Rapid Response. I don't know if you guys have Rapid Response in your area. So they work with businesses that are laying off individuals. So what we decided to do to decrease the amount of time of people being in between jobs is to say, okay, if this individual, let's say a manufacturer had to lay off 500 people, and we know that there is a group of manufacturers that are looking for people. Okay, we have this company that's laying off 500. What skill sets do you need? Like, there's gonna be some skill sets they already have, what are the ones that are pertaining to your company that you like these individuals to have? And let's quickly put together a system or training, something so by the time individuals are laid off, they can go directly into this program, and then they'll go right into your company. So that's some of the things that we try to do to decrease the time of hire or the easy transfer of laid off workers to new roles. For public programs, collaborations on projects, grants, supporting sector partnerships, sharing manpower across partnership stakeholders, impact metrics, sharing funding streams, sharing accountability, sharing outcome. One of the issues that we have in Minnesota, it's getting better, but we still have it. We have a lot of silos. We still have a lot, I always say egos and silos. We have individuals that want to take the credit, that they don't want to share, but we're slowly but surely realizing that if we all are trying to achieve the same goal, to build a strong workforce, to get these workforce into, connected to employers to be satisfied and not leave to go to another state, we need to break down those silos, get rid of those egos, and work together. So slowly but surely, we're doing that. All right, any questions before I go into some industry partnerships? Once again, are you guys still with me? All right, yes, okay. All right, so I'll be talking about 3. So the first one is Minneapolis-St. Paul MSP Tech Hire. And like I said, you guys, Atlanta has a tech hire. This was all a result of the Obama administration launch of their tech hire initiative. So the initial launch, 21 communities, 300 employers. They have a first, second, and third wave communities. Minneapolis, and they're very, very aggressive with this, which is a good thing, said, you know what, we'll be the first round of cities that will develop a tech hire. I believe Atlanta was in the first wave, if not the second. I know they weren't in the third. For some reason, I can't remember. So the goal of this was to increase outreach to targeted groups. So the focus of the tech hire was supporting women and minorities to remove or reduce barriers to accessing alternative technology, education, and training opportunities. We all know that, unfortunately, right now, tech is still majority white male. So this focus was to increase the number of women and minorities in the Minneapolis metro area into tech, increasing the visibility and raising public awareness of growing sustainable job opportunities in the technology sector by outreaching to area residents, connecting employers, training partners, and skilled job candidates to fill the in-demand tech jobs of today and collaboratively develop talent for the future. So with tech hire, they first started out with help desk and coding positions. In our region, the increasing occupations include cybersecurity and engineering positions within tech. So tech is constantly changing in our area. So who was first? And this is a beautiful skyline of downtown Minneapolis, my home. I live like on the other side, you can't see my house. So who was the city of Minneapolis? We started with 6 regional employers. There were 3 accelerated learning programs: Prime Digital Academy, Creating IT Futures, IT Ready, which I just found out they also operate in some other states, and the Software Guild. So why did they choose this area? High number of tech jobs in the metro area. Like I mentioned, the metro area, one of the in-demand industries was technology, or tech. And the purpose, training and placing diverse workers into tech careers. So as of December 2018, we had over 1,600 graduates. 40% of those graduates were people of color, 30% were women. Graduates in full-time positions, a little over 1,300. Average starting salary is $61,000. And that's really good, because you think of if you go from, minimum wage, making $15,000, $17,000 a year, and then you can make in 1 to 2 years $61,000. That's good. I don't know anyone that would say, no, I don't want that. So starting salary, $61,000, and currently employer engagement is over 500 employers. So we have big employers. We have Target headquarters, Located in our downtown Minneapolis area, we have US Bank in our area, we have Ameriprise located there, all of these big companies, and smaller companies too. Let me say that when we look at assisting employers, we're not only looking at big employers, but we're also looking at medium to small employers too, because those small to medium-sized employers make up 2/3 of our total employers, so we don't want to overlook them. So that 500 employers includes small to large employers. Any questions about MSP Tech Hire? All right, so this second one, which I really do like, this one is with healthcare. It's the Central Corridor Anchor Partnership, so CCAP for short. So CCAP is a group of colleges, universities, hospitals, and healthcare organizations located near the Green Line of Minneapolis. So why we call it the Twin Cities is, they're right connected to each other. Literally, this is where the county divides. Like, I can be in Hennepin County, and then I'm in Ramsey County in St. Paul. That's how they're right next to each other. So there's a green line, a metro line that goes from Minneapolis, and it goes through St. Paul. So it's utilizing the green line to get more people into the healthcare field. So the partners for this is a larger partnership, 5 employers, so the big companies. So Health Partners, our Hennepin County Medical Center, which is a huge medical, our regions, so these are the larger hospitals. And usually larger hospitals are competitors. They decided to come together and say, okay, how can we work together to combat this issue of a shortage in healthcare? So you have employers, you have 6 educators, 3 philanthropic organizations, you have support from legal and consulting partners. Of course, with those being 5 employers, they had to get an actual legal consulting person to come in, and they head the CCAP, and they're the lead person. So any issues that employers have, this is the person that would resolve them, would be from this legal and consulting partner. Now, they started in the healthcare. They're slowly moving to the finance industries, working with US Bank and Wells Fargo, because Wells Fargo does also have a headquarters in downtown Minneapolis. So the goal is, there's 3 goals. Spend more procurement dollars with businesses that are along that green line, hire more residents from the neighborhood, and increase transit use. So they were noticing that people along this green line, or along the green line that connected Minneapolis to St. Paul, the unemployment was pretty high. And because there was unemployment, a lot of dollars were not being spent in those, with businesses in those areas, because people didn't have the money to be spending with businesses. And also, of course, there's an issue with transportation. Well, you have the green line. Let's utilize the green line to make employment more accessible for those local residents by utilizing the transportation. So the healthcare career pathways. You have career connections. You have what we call scrub camps, which I'll go into, high schools, technical training, and then you have central corridor jobs. So the strategy is to start with scrub camps, which expose high school students to health careers. So we have what they call Center of Excellences throughout Minnesota, and they focus on an industry. So the industry, the Center of Excellence that focuses on healthcare is called Health Force. And so they are the ones that usually hold throughout the state of Minnesota these scrub camps. They get students in here. Students can do on hand. One scrub camp was with phlebotomy. Other one was dealing with trauma patients. One dealt with new infants. It's really getting that hands-on approach, and it's exposing and introducing high school students to healthcare. I think the presentation before me had said, students usually know about doctors and nurses, but they don't know about techs. They don't know about phlebotomists. They don't know a lot about CNAs, PCAs, home health aides. So those scrub camps are used to say, okay, there's more there's more occupations besides nursing and being a doctor. And you're going to get some hands-on experience. Then we have the Central Corridor College, or C3 Fellows, which connects college students to part-time healthcare jobs. So while if you're a college student in some type of healthcare training and you're part of this C3 Fellows, they'll connect you to some healthcare jobs while you're going through school, just so you can get that additional experience. And then you have a Nursing Diversity Initiative. So it's to promote RN to BSN nursing apprenticeships, focusing on people of color and veterans and people with disabilities to go into nursing field. So for the scrub camps, between 2013 and 2017, 400 plus students completed scrub camps. 60% were participants of color, and 62% received scholarships. For C3 Fellows, connecting students to part-time jobs, over 550 students enrolled, 230 paid positions, earning $5 more than their peers an hour, 10% higher academic success, 70% students of color, 76% low-income students. And for the Nursing Diversity Initiative, fewer persons of color obtain a 4-year BSN degree than 2-year degrees. Statewide, you have 120 of the 5,360 RNs licensed were people of color, and over 6,500 healthcare job openings in the Central Corridor Anchor Partnership in the next 5 years. And 55% are going to be 4-year BSN nursing jobs. So there is, throughout the state, a nursing shortage. I think throughout the country there's a nursing shortage. And so this really deals with that nursing shortage in the metro area. Any questions about CCAP? So it is working, there's a number of ways, working with community-based organizations that are in these areas. For CCAP, for example, we have, I think I think Minnesota has the largest Somali population in the country. And so in the metro area, there's a neighborhood where the majority of them live, and there are community-based organizations. CCAP really, a lot of these, like the fellowships, the scrub camps, some of those are held within those areas to get those students easy access. Also with the MSP Tech Hire, since this neighborhood is located in Minneapolis, you have a lot of the representatives going out and setting up informal information or getting community-based organizations or training institutions that can actually train on site. So recruiting that way, reaching out to the parents as well. I know for going back to the Somali population, a lot of the parents are very active and engaged in making sure that their kids utilize the education that's available. So reaching out to the parents, making sure that the parents come to informational sessions. Sometimes we get the parents interested just as well. So, they can't go through scrub camps, but there's other ways that they can onboard too. And then, also I'm gonna stay on the Somali community, reaching out to mosques, reaching out to community centers in that area. There are counselors in community-based organizations that work with just Somali population. So, and we do that for our Hmong population, our East African population, Native American population. It's really the getting out there. It's not them coming to us, we're going to them. So the scholarships is a combination of some of the philanthropic organizations, employers as well. Those 5 employers have put some skin in the game, as we like to say. So, yeah, because all of them, the idea is the individuals that are participating in all of this are going to eventually work within one of these companies. So it's a ROI for the company. And then, yeah, I think, just also the kind of that hitting the pavement and social media, radio, there's no stone unturned when we reach out to. It's very important. And I brought that up in a other breakout session that I went to. It's very important because if the parents are unaware of what occupation or industry entails, or they have a negative perception of it, that does influence that child's decision to go into. I think the example I used was manufacturing, is that, you know, manufacturing is no longer a dirty, demeaning, dead-end job. But a lot of parents don't know that. You know, you can have advanced manufacturing, and let me know if I'm incorrect on this, you can make 75, 80, that, and when kids hear that, oh, I didn't know that, and when parents hear that, oh, I didn't know that. I mean, we've done tours where they've seen people in manufacturing in white shirts and, you know, nice clothes, like this person works in a manufacturing company. Yeah, manufacturing is not just on the ground. There's a lot of different levels, so things like that. That's why it's important to get parents involved. So, yes. So in addition to going through the Central Corridor Partnership, and I'm so sorry, I should have included, there was an actual flow chart that they have on their website. So one of the programs that we have, so DEED, my department, partnered with the Minnesota Department of Labor. We applied for what we call a Minnesota Apprenticeship Initiative grant. And so it's an apprenticeship grant for non-traditional. So non-traditional is healthcare, IT, manufacturing, and agriculture, because agriculture is an in-demand industry in one of our rural areas. And so one of the bigger companies, Fairview, I don't know if they're outside of Minnesota, but they're pretty big. Whatever is equivalent of whatever your biggest healthcare system is in here is what they would be. They utilized the apprenticeships initiative to get individuals from like the tech or into those nursing jobs. So they do a lot of promoting within. So a lot of their nurses complete these apprenticeships because the issue is usually with nursing it's a 4-year degree. We don't have 4 years. So how can we narrow it down, but at the same time making sure they got the training and they're prepared? So that's the way that they do that. And then it doesn't hurt too that I think you get $5,000 from each individual that you go through this initiative. And I think Fairview, I think their numbers are in the millions that they've gotten back from this. So yeah, they're not stopping anytime soon. All right. All right, so this one is actually not in my area, it's in our Duluth area. And when I did this presentation at the NADAP conference, I had my coworker from that location talk about this. So I'm probably just gonna read from this too. So 218 trades is a construction. So the issue is a lack of awareness about career opportunities in the skills trade in the Duluth area, which is one of the industries in that area. So the solution was to develop awareness campaigns around skilled trades in northern Minnesota. So the partners, Grand Rapids Area Chamber of Commerce, which is in northern Minnesota, MSP Win, which is a philanthropic organization that gives money out to different career pathway partnerships, the Northeast Minnesota Office of Job Training, Department of Iron Range Resources and Rehabilitation. So the Iron Range is this area, and this is where a lot of the mining occurs too. So the target audience, students and parents, once again, getting those parents involved, teachers and guidance counselors, other influencers, families and friends. They found out that because the community is such a tight-knit community, students will also listen to families and other family members and their friends too when figuring out what career they want to get into. Underrepresented populations in the trades, women and minorities, in addition to a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Reservations. In rural areas, there are pockets of different minority populations, so African American, Hmong, Latino, the Somali, they're also popping up in different rural areas throughout Minnesota as well. So targeting the underrepresented populations in the trades. So this is, as you see, this is a brand new initiative. I think they just made their website online, I think a few weeks ago. So this is This is, the beginning stages. There's not a lot that was developed on this website, but this was just show that this was in the beginning stages. So marketing campaign, they did a website listing trades with descriptions, resources about training and working in trades, kind of a did you know to dispel the myths people might have about the trades. So going back to manufacturing, what we hear in Minnesota, we hear 3 Ds, dirty, demeaning, and dead end when it comes to manufacturing. So just dispelling those myths when it comes to trades. Including fact sheets, utilizing social media heavily, especially to get to students, videos, and then having hands-on career expo. We did find for a lot of the trades, the healthcare, anything that you can have a hands-on opportunity for students to do hands-on work, creating expos and summits and things like that to introduce students to those different careers. So that's all that I have with that. Like I said, it just started. So what I did is I said, okay, let's take these 3 initiatives and let's look at some of the things that we looked at and that I talked about to see where they fall. So design model, MSP Tech Hire, hub and spoke, central corridor anchor partnership, full partnership, the trades, inner and outer rings. Is there partner and stakeholder engagement? Yes, because you have employers that are engaged, you have community-based organizations, philanthropic, other entities. Are they operating in a true market? Once again, that is so important. That's one of the ways you can quickly fail is if you develop a pathway or a partnership in an area where that industry is not an identified or growing industry, that's just is setting you up to fail. Fortunately, it's a yes for everyone. For tech hire, it's in the metro area where tech is one of the industries. Central corridor, yes. Healthcare and finance, which is also in the metro area. This central corridor anchor partnership probably could work in any other regions because healthcare is an in-demand industry in all the regions. The 218 trades, construction, yes, because construction is in Northeast Minnesota, one of their industries. Their performance phase, they're all different. If you look at the 218 trades, at the bottom, they're emerging. Like I said, they just started out. They're new. They have the engagement from employers. MSP Tech Hire is active. They have the engagement from the employers. They have the community-based organizations. They have the training partners. They have started. They've been good for a couple of years. They're just now starting to get some good numbers. And then you have Central Corridor Anchor Partnership, and I put them as advanced because they focus not only on workforce, but procurement. They're looking at transportation, and they do have recognition not only statewide, but on a national scale too for their work. And then transparency, communication, role identification, visions and values for tech hire. The only downside is a need to look at additional growing tech occupations. Like I said, tech hire focuses on, I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Tech hire focuses on the help desk and coding, but within our location, cybersecurity and software engineer are growing occupations. So needing to start focusing on that and developing trainings to combat those rising occupations as well. Central Corridor Anchor Partnership, yes, roles for each partner is clearly defined. They understand not in addition to nursing, that you also have those entry levels. You have the CNAs, PCAs, home health aides. You have a lot of the tech positions. So they have a plan in place to hit those occupations as well. 218 trades, because it's new, it's a work in progress. Self-sustaining partnership, yes for both. NA for the last one, once again, it's a new occupation. And then data on success of initiative. Both MSP Tech Hire, Central Corridor Anchor Partnership has a dashboard. 218 trades, they're developing their dashboard. So, how does developing partnerships fit under the mission of the ecosystem? So because I know the most about my region, the 7-county metro region, I'm going to talk about the Greater Metro Workforce Council, GMWC for short. So the Greater Metropolitan Workforce Council, it's new. I think it's not even 3 years yet. It's a newly expanded inclusive leadership entity responsible for regional workforce development strategies in the 7-county Minneapolis-St. Paul region. So this is the workforce board structure. So I believe there's some similarities with how our workforce board is structured and how Georgia has theirs structured. So there's 3 levels. First, you have local workforce boards. So using the Metro County, there's 7 counties, but we have 6 local boards. So, and the local boards comprise of businesses, philanthropic, education that's pertained to that area. So you have local workforce boards, and then you have a director that serves on each of those local workforce boards. So from the local workforce boards, you go to the Greater Metropolitan Council workforce boards. Of course, that's a combination of the 3 key players from each of the 7 local workforce boards, and then you add other philanthropic, other employers, other health, education entities that are involved in the Greater Metropolitan Workforce Council. So the influences working regionally in executing selective strategic talent initiatives that advance an inclusive economy and don't conflict or detract from local boards. So making sure that the work of the regional area doesn't conflict with the individual areas of the workforce boards, because even if you look at a local level, not all of the industries operate in all of the local areas. So going back to tech is popular in the Minneapolis area, but it's not a great deal of employers in other areas within the region, but it's still considered one of our in-demand industries. So the purpose is to build a workforce system that will address the regional labor shortage and support inclusive growth and prosperity. So remember and I'll go back to this so it makes much more sense. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then Minneapolis itself has their own local board. So we have a local board. And then the region board is this region. So if you look at the black outline, it'll show the makeup of the region. For example, the Northwest Metro right here has 26 counties, but it has 2 local boards, and then they together make one regional board. So that's how it's broken down. If you look at the Southwest Metro, they have 2 boards. Everyone has 2 boards except for the Northeast, which has 1 board, 1 regional board, 1 local board. And then, of course, we had to be difficult and have the 7 local boards. So like I said, we have the local boards, we have a regional board, and then we have our governor's board. So then, of course, you take some key players from the local boards, and they participate in the governor's board. The governor's board has the responsibility under the Federal Workforce Initiative and Opportunity Act, WIOA, provides leadership opportunities and key workforce strategies for the state. So we have individuals that participate on their local board, participate in the Metro board, and also participate in the governor's workforce board. So think of it county, region, statewide. And we all make sure that all of our services and our goals somehow align with each other, which is developing workforce talent in Minnesota. So if you look back at the Greater Metropolitan Workforce Council, our vision, mission, our 6 sectors that I mentioned, and then our strategic priorities. So once again, our 6 sectors: construction, finance. Finance also includes other professional services, so insurance, things like that. Government, healthcare, information technology, and manufacturing. So the importance of building Minnesota's workforce. This is why we're doing all of this. We want to eliminate disparities. We have a high disparity. Like I said, Minnesota is well known, unfortunately, for their disparities between whites and communities of color when it comes to housing ownership, when it comes to employment opportunities, when it comes to education. So that is the goal that we have, is to eliminate those disparities. When individuals put together career pathways or partnerships and they say, you know what, we want to apply for a grant, maybe a Path to Prosperity grant, which deals to people that are below the federal poverty guidelines, or a Minnesota Job Skills Partnership where you work with colleges to develop pipelines. That's one of the things that we ask. And one of the things that we require is that you have something in there about what you're going to do to target disparate communities and produce some results. Because, and I didn't include it in here, our demographics in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, but especially in Minneapolis, is going to change. Within 5 to 10 years, the majority are going to be minority. And if you have, if you have the majority that are going to be minority not having opportunities to this employment, then you see where I'm heading. I don't need to say anything else. You see where it's heading. So, you know, that's one of the things that we look at. I've read and scored plenty of RFPs for grants, and that's what I look for. What communities are you targeting? What have been your past success if you're not a new partnership? And what are you implementing? How are you, like you mentioned, marketing to these disparate groups to get them involved? How easy is it? You know, what employer connections do you have? We don't want individuals to go through training and then there's no employers at the end. So we're really focused on building our workforce. So some presentation takeaways. No one size fits all for developing a successful partnership. There's no such thing. It's not cookie cutter. When working with people, I say there's not black and white, there's areas of gray. We need to make sure that we have the right combination of people, the right combination of entities, the right combination of organizations to really develop and sustain and implement a successful partnership. Strategic thought to partners and stakeholders is key. Just what I said. Starting off to a slow start is not always a bad thing. A lot of times people want to jump out the gate, and that's when you get the overpromise and under-delivering. We don't expect in 6 months that you're going to have 1,000 people graduate from your program. Believe it or not, we're okay with 10, because we know that you're just starting out. Now, what we expect in 5 years, if you're still operating, okay, now maybe we're in the hundreds. So starting off to a slow start is not always a bad thing. I have seen initiatives burn themselves out because, like I said, they just overpromise. And when you're telling someone you're going to do this, we're going to hold you to it, and you don't, then now you've lost your credibility. Making sure partnerships align with the demand of that area. Really, we utilize our labor market, which falls under DEED as well, my department. Also, we have something called real-time talent, and the difference is labor market has a general picture of labor market. Real-time talent looks at snapshots right now. So if I were to look, okay, as of right now, what's the healthcare need in this occupation, in this area, and with what companies, they can give you a snapshot within like a month radius. This is what the need was. So making sure that whatever partnerships and pathways are being developed aligns with the demand of that area. Transparency, communication, role identification is important. Make sure everyone knows what their role is coming to the table. Make sure that there is communication among all partners and there's transparency. You've got to be transparent. Once again, when we have those silos and those egos, pathways, partnerships do not succeed. Period. Necessary to make modifications to partnership changes, or necessary to make modifications to partnerships as they change is what I wanted to say, or what I should have typed. So when you put together a partnership or a career pathway, make sure that you don't have something that's set in stone, because you need to adapt to whatever the need is for that market. Going back to tech, coding, help desk right now, cybersecurity is on the rise. Engineering, on the rise. We want to make sure that tech hire and whatever smaller tech partnerships are being developed or are starting out have that wiggle room that they're able to adapt to whatever changes that region has or whatever the needs that employer has. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate this. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, I'm coming from Minnesota. I don't know how you Georgians are gonna accept me. Like, what's this woman from the north coming down telling us what to do? Or is she better than us? But no, thank you very much.